One to this week on Magnet Marketers. So excited to have you with us today as we talk about content stealing, what to do if someone steals your content, how to identify it, and some action steps you can take. But before we dive into those topics today and what to do, just a quick introduction. My name is Jessica Phillips with Now Marketing Group and the Relationship Marketing System, here to help you create repeat referral business with your ideal audience. And my awesome, as always, co-host, Mike Gingrich with Digital Hill, co-founder of popular app Tabsite, Loftio, published author extraordinaire, and founder of a nonprofit called I Give Global, where he lives and breathes by the philosophy of always being uncommon and always adding value. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming on here today with me.
Good to be back again and to have a full team here today. So looking forward to this.
Thanks for covering it solo last week. You did an awesome job, good feedback. And yeah, I can breathe and come back. So
that's always important, right? Yeah.
Very important. But I will let you kind of start it off with just areas where content is, with the rise in social media and just digital marketing as a whole, people publishing content all the time, and just with the need to feel like we always are in this battle to create more and more content. The temptation is out there for others to kind of take the easy route and steal it, unfortunately. So what are some common things that you see that are areas that we need to watch for? And then as I share this video, then we'll jump back into how to identify those things.
Yeah. So, I mean, the content stealing, I mean, obviously there's content on your website, on your blog. You might think of that. So that there's been instances of people, scraping those things, using it as their own. And we'll talk about some ways to kind of find those types of things. But there's also, in social media now, what we've seen is scraping of images, taking images and then kind of using them as their own. And obviously there's the possibility for screenshots and, those types of pieces. And so there kind of needs to become a place where you need to have a process or a protocol that you want to do, to try to handle, to try to work at these things, because, some of that is your creative intellectual property that you want to share. Now, I mean, there's always going to be things where people adapt off of others' ideas and but are they giving credit to you? Are they, is it more than, just a quick spin on it, or is it, blatantly using that and casting that off as their own idea, those types of pieces. So, I think that number one, you got to start with the basics. And that, again, starts with your website, your home base, and just having those, copyright notices on your website, I think is, the critical starting point. That the copyright, a phrase banner, and those types of things. And maybe we're going to post some links possibly of Copyscape, dnca.com, that offers some banners and some possibilities for others to use and include in those areas.
Absolutely. So to bring it back, kind of what you were talking about, scraping content is one form of stealing content. We'll talk a little bit about that. And the images you touched on, verbatim copying, like a website copy, and blog copy, and images as well. Somebody else maybe has designed something that you really like, and you're taking that and repurposing it as their own. Those are all ways of stealing content, but also some of the things that you don't think about that could be stealing is actually even taking nuggets from somebody's blog article and putting them maybe in your blog article. It could be considered stealing that content. Let's talk about this a little bit, because there's different ways. And as Mike brought up, the copyright notice, there's actually a copyright law that states that it's very, very loose. So, like, they're stating that you have to have fair use in place in order to use someone else's content. And what that means is that if you like their content, or somebody likes your content and they want to use it, they actually have to get your written permission, or you have to get their written permission in order to use that content. Now, it's not to say, though, that if you really are inspired by a blog article, like I'll use Now Marketing Group as an example, we really liked Jay Baer's talks on hug your haters, right? So we talked about literally that in a blog article, like that whole thought process, like what it means to hug your haters, and quoted Jay Baer's link to his book, where people could go and buy it and get the book. Now, just by mentioning that title and by mentioning that this is what he believes, that is not considered copyright or stealing content. What would be is if I took 4 images from his book, pasted it in there, took paragraphs and maybe his studies from in the book and actually wrote the article with that in there, that would be considered a copyright infringement. And that would not be okay unless I had permission from Jay and his team or whomever that gives me that authorization in order to use that. So those are all areas that could be considered copyright infringing or stealing content. So sometimes it's not that people are trying to do it on purpose. Sometimes it is. Like you said, Mike, they could be inspired maybe by a piece of the work, or you may be inspired by theirs, and you don't even look at it as something that you're maybe doing wrong. So it's really important to just know what the rules are that are out there, especially as it relates to like images. I've seen images quite a bit where people are just finding something on Google and they're just thinking if it's on Google, it's free to use. I can use this image anywhere. And that cannot be further from the truth. And companies, brands, individuals are getting wiser in finding out how to spot if somebody's used this kind of stuff. So you just don't want to get in a predicament where you think that you weren't even thinking and you were just using this because you liked it and thought just by giving a link or something to where you got it that it's okay to use. That's not the truth.
No, yeah. But I like what you kind of said there too with Jay Baer's material. Like, I mean, you're talking about it, you're quoting it, that kind of thing, but you're making sure that that you're giving credit to this. This is not your original work. It's not your original idea. And here is further information on this. It's identifying the source of that.
Absolutely. Like using a quote or something and tagging the person, perfectly fine. If you were to use huge chunks of valuable information in that piece, like if I was literally quoting a full paragraph or paragraphs or chapter that Jay had in there, that's a completely different story. That could definitely be considered crossing the line there, especially if you're not, tying it back to the original source. So hopefully that gives a better understanding as to what could be considered copyright infringement. Now, if you feel like you've been copyright infringed on, what can you do and how can you spot this kind of stuff, right? How can you see if there's even anything out there? I mean, you think the world's so big that it's really impossible to find all this, but it really isn't all that hard. In a couple minutes, you can see if your stuff's out there anywhere else and who put it out there and when they put it out there. So you can literally prove, hey, mine was out there first, they did it after this date, etc. So let's go through some of those things, and then what we can do at the end. Mike, we can follow it up at the very, very end on some links to kind of prevent these things from happening.
Yep. Well, I think, and I don't want to get ahead of you too, but Copyscape is kind of one of those key tools that you can use. So Copyscape is a website, search a simple one that allows you to enter in a URL, and it has a database kind of is scanning the web there, and it's going to return results on possible duplicates, related content that way. So and there is, you can get a number of results for free. There is a add-on paying for it to kind of go deeper and give you more results. That one up to 10,000 pages, I think. So with the paid.
Yep. And we use this all the time because we work with some freelance writers, and we just want to do our due diligence to make sure that nothing's out there that could potentially, in their error or non-understanding of stealing content, I guess, copying content, that there's nothing out there that could get us in trouble because we've worked with someone else. So this is something even if you're hiring someone else to write your content, it would be smart to use this tool to scan and make sure that nothing else is out there. It's super cheap. Literally, I think we put like $100, not even $100 a month in Copyscape, and we literally scan content. So you can scan content both that your team has written for you, and your own blogs maybe that you've written in-house, to see if there's anything else out there on the web. And it literally matches it up and tells you what else is out there and the date that it was created and what percentage of likeliness it is to that article. So it's something that you definitely want to check out, and it costs you a few cents basically to scan an article. And you can also put links in there, so you can put your website link against somebody else's website link and scan it that way. So if you're worried about website copy, you can do that. It's a great, great tool. So again, that's Copyscape, all one word, COPYSCAPE.com, and you can use that. And they have some tools there too that we'll come back to at the end for copyright notices that you can put at the footer of your blogs and on your website that says, hey, our stuff is not for the grabs. You know, it literally puts it on there. So it warns people that, hey, we are on our game, and don't even try it. Don't even try it. Think about trying it. Don't even look at it. Yeah.
No, and I think a next one is the common for and pretty simple to do is with trackbacks in WordPress. Then, so I think that gives you a quick option, and to identify where your content's been out there. Using trackbacks that let's see. So the way those is that once your post is out there, it's basically kind of giving you a reference point if something else is identified similar to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great. It's built right into WordPress. So it really saves you a step. You just have to get it set up. There is a little bit to get it set up, and make sure that you have that. And then it pings your site if someone else has used something. It literally gives you like a notification if somebody else has used something of your content, and alerts you. So anytime you're logging in WordPress, or if you are one of the administrators' email accounts that is set up for that WordPress site, it would let you know. You get a notification of where it's going, basically, who's placed it and when they did it. Takes you directly there, and you can see if they've given you credit for it or what in that article. So it saves you a step from logging into Copyscape and doing that. Depending on how you have Copyscape set up, that could save you some time and some money in the long run. So yeah, but that's after it's already published. So the thing I like about Copyscape is you can do it before it gets published, right? So before you've actually published it online, before you'd go and risk that track back, you can scan it right there.
Yep.
Do that. One of my favorites is Wayback Archive. Have you heard of this one before, Mike?
Yeah, I've been on the Wayback Machine, yeah.
Oh, I love it. So Wayback Machine, it's waybackarchive.org. You can go to this link, and when they say that things are written online in ink, they mean it, because you can literally pull up old websites from 1990 or whatever, from way back, literally, and see what kind of content was on the websites then and what the website looked like as a whole. So if you were like, hey, wait a minute, that was the old version of our website, or hey, we had a page that was outlined like this in our last version, or whatever. You could literally go scan your website and or someone else's website and see all the versions of that site. Now, sometimes there's been times that has not worked 100% for me, but more times than not it has. I don't know about if you've had success or not with it, Mike.
Yeah, no, I think that in general, it's been kind of a good way to go back and look at something and get a good feel for that. I mean, there are limits to it. It's it's basically trying to keep a accurate picture, a workable picture of what that website was like at that point in time. And but it is, we've used it from a web development perspective to kind of go back and look at perhaps there were design changes, or there was something that shifted and you need to take a look at those kind of pieces. But as well, works for looking up content that way. Yeah,
love it. It is great. And the one that is similar kind of to that, but it's really for, I guess it's not as similar, but it's more for images, I would say, is Google Images. So you could go to, literally, if it's just like an image that you've used, maybe it's something you made for your site, or an image that you have taken yourself. So like Getty is really good about this, right? They're famous for all their stock photography, and this is how they catch businesses stealing their images, I'm sure, is you go to google.com/images. And then Google in the search bar there has this little camera icon that you can click on the right-hand side and drag that image into that search bar, and it shows you all of the images that are published on the web that are similar to the image that you're putting there. And then it will tell you the date and time that that image was put up. So you could see, like, if you've had an image maybe that you've taken of something, and you know that that's yours, and you know that someone else has taken that image that you own, you could grab and put it into google.com/images, and it tells you the date and time that it was published versus the time that yours was published, and then the link to where it is posted online, so you can find the actual link to where it's being shared online.
Yep.
That's nice. We've actually had a client, and then this was before, when we first started working with them, they had used an image that they had found on Google, and they literally thought, because it was one of the, Google has a place there where it's, I forget what they call it. It's basically like a royalty-free images, free something images. Anyway, they grabbed one of the images from there, right, thinking that it was okay to use. And I've heard this from other people too. They thought that if you get these images in the spot on Google, that it is okay to use. But this client ended up getting a letter and a bill for $800 from Getty because it was Getty's image, and they had to pay up. I mean, they said, you can't use this image anymore. Plus, because you've had it on your website for X amount of time, this is how much you owe us. And yeah, they had to pay that. So it's much less expensive just to buy the photo from a site that's going to give you the rights to use it in the first place, or design your own.
Yeah, so those images can be bought. I mean, web-friendly images, $2, $3. They don't have to cost a lot. Composite photos, whatever else. Yeah.
And there are some sites that do offer some free stock photography that you can use. You do have to check, the rights on it, because some of them have rights that you can use, for a blog post, for example, but you wouldn't be able to use it on a billboard. There's different types of model releases for different kinds of photos and images that are out there. So make sure to check. Yes. I'll post a link to some free stock photo sites too. Yeah.
Well, that's good. And I think that, another one that's pretty basic, and many of us might be aware of, is Google Alerts. I mean, good old Google Alerts, where you can set it up so you can put your title in there, you can put in a key quote, that type of thing in there, and Google will, scan for that. You can kind of set the frequency of that, and it will alert you if that's been mentioned, that's been come up, that's in copy somewhere. And so that's Google Alerts is another tool, free tool that you can use in that regard. A related one to that I use is called Talkwalker Alerts. Talkwalker Alerts. Some guys out of I think it was Norway that put that together, and that's the same kind of concept, So you can have a term in there and get notified of mentions of that term. Again, so maybe it's a blog title, or it's a key phrase that you use, those types of pieces, and you can get email updates on that, and it'll take you out and check that piece out then. So a little bit like the ping back, but another service, so that helps you keep track of a certain phrase, certain kind of piece of information. So again, if you have a long article, you're not doing the search on that entire article, but you're putting a piece of it out there and seeing if that important piece comes up.
Yeah. I've done this with Magnet versus Bullhorn, Magnet Marketers, relationship marketing system, like relationships more powerful than marketing, like things that you're known for saying, right? So like the Halftime Mike podcast, for example, you'd probably put out there, or something like that. So you would put out a phrase that you're known for saying, and kind of how you say it, and how you're trying to kind of personalize and brand that for yourself. You could put that out there just to see what else is out there. And we've not used the what is it called?
Talkwalker.
Yeah, I've seen it was mentioned online, but I've not used that. But we have used Google Alerts kind of in the same fashion for clients' names or their industry, for example. So like commercial real estate, we've used that for a client for anything within, commercial real estate and what's trending there. And so that's great could be great just to get content in general for a certain topic. And then we've also used HubSpot's social media inbox, where you can set up streams to, filter in there so you can see, what's being said online for different buzzwords. And then what's nice about this and what TalkWalker might have is that you can filter out things too. So you could say, I want everything that includes this, but filter it out if it's got this in it, or add this extra variation in the search to kind of filter in things and make it more streamlined and accurate to what you're looking for. Yeah. Webmasters Tools is another one that we've used too. So Webmasters Tools will, you can go to, it's not Webmasters Tools anymore. It's called the Search Console, but most people still know it as Webmasters Tools. But it's google.com/search console. You can go there and go under your website, under links to your site, and then sort by linked pages. So you can see what other websites are linking to your site. Google Analytics gives you this too under like the referral section, but you can see it really easy, an all-time kind of the traffic to these sites, etc., within Google, formerly known Webmasters, now Search Console section of the Search Console tools. So that's another one within Google. So these are all areas to set up to scan, just to see what's out there. The biggest one, like you mentioned at the very, very beginning, Mike, is scrapers. So these are people that and I see this so much now, honestly, it's a lot of my newsfeed, where they're taking an article or even a video that is hot or popular, and they're taking this whole concept and just writing like a really short paragraph to it, and then basically linking in the article at the end.
Yeah.
Which is really tiptoeing on the line there. It's a matter of if you care or not that this person has done that. What they're ultimately trying to do is get views and traffic, search engine optimization. But this kind of scraping is taking away from your content that you have there that you've worked really hard on, and it's really annoying actually for some brands to see the content scraping that's going on. So one thing that you can do is be aware that it's happening, but then also, know what's out there and if you want to take action on it. I don't know if you have anything else to talk about with content scraping in regards to content scraping, Mike.
No, I think that we're giving you some tools to help you be aware of those pieces, and you want to. So I think that it's something that I just had two thoughts come to mind. Number one, I was thinking back. I believe it's Pam Moore, where somebody was they copy her podcasts and do YouTube videos on them or something like that. So it's just like
I just talked with her about that. Yeah.
To her content, and so basically this person was creating a YouTube channel that was not their own content, period, whatsoever, and going through those pieces. Then now
he also had something where I don't remember what ended up happening with it. There was some guy that was out there that was taking her content literally from her podcast and her blog and used it and published it like on a Forbes or one of the big sites. I don't remember which one it was. I don't want to misquote, but they published it on this site. So she literally had to go take legal action, which we'll talk about, to get it removed. But if she didn't have this due diligence in place, she would have never known. And this person got a lot of exposure from it. So it's something that you definitely want to be aware of for sure.
Yeah. I think the other one, now, again, so there's nuances on this as well. So I was alerted here a few weeks back that there was a post that was like one of my articles, and it linked off, and it was a German website. Okay, so number one, it was more difficult for me because I had to translate it, so it was in German. Okay? But and I wasn't sure about this, and so and this is kind of getting into our next step. So basically, I contacted the website owners and said, hey, I'd like to make sure that you kind of reference my article here if you seem like you're quoting quite a bit of it and that type of thing. And they did get back with me, and it turns out that my German's not too good. They did actually have a link back to my article in there.
Yeah.
I was missing that. So again, I mean, now it's fucking global. It's global. It's interesting on those kind of things. So it's just part of the process of just kind of, watching it and checking it out.
Mm-hmm. And that's always my first recommendation, is give people the benefit of the doubt, right? I mean, great minds do think alike sometimes too. I mean, you have to see that it's blatant. If they've just talked about the same thing that everybody else is talking about, chances are it could be something that's just really actually just similar, and you know how it is when you hear of a new idea and you get excited about it, you feel like that's all you hear anymore, but you don't really realize that it's because you're just more aware of it, right? So actually, funny thing, with Magnet Marketers, I just published a link to Magnet Marketers. I'm really, really excited about this new social media masterclass that's going out, and I put this out on my Facebook page, and I'm like, woohoo, join it. And this guy comments, and he said, you should ask the social magnets guy to be involved. And I'm like, question mark, what? And he's like, social magnets. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea what he's talking about. So I click on his link to see any more. And his name of his business was Social Magnets. I mean, it's different than Magnet Marketers, but his name was Social Magnets, right? And luckily, you could tell that based on our conversation, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I called it Magnet Marketers because of this blog I wrote in like 2012, right? But he could tell too, like it would be different if it was like the logos were the same and the content's the same, like those kinds of little kind of similarities, you'll have that kind of stuff. But if it's blatant obvious to where, like in your case, it's like a verbatim article or whatever, I don't know what the case was, or like what in Pam's case where she was talking about, it's blatant, right? And I've had it with our stuff, both with images, I've had it, and also with an actual like article that we've done, where we've seen it. And you just have to use your first, give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was something that was an oversight, but if you read into it and you can tell definitely it was something where it is just too similar, right? Or it is definitely that image, then you have to decide, is this worth fighting for or not, right?
Yep.
And then you go through the steps. So the first step with which Mike did is contact the person, right? Well, actually, rewind. Step before that. Screenshot, save it. You need to have proof, because if you reach out to them and they take it down, right, then you don't know. You want to make sure you at least screenshot it, maybe ask somebody else for their opinion first, right? And then contact the person. Yep. Mike, what did you do after that?
I mean, basically, after I reached out to them, I let it sit for a little bit to see if I got any response, kind of thing.
Right.
And in this case, I did. So that was helpful, and we could have dialogue about it. So that was a process. Some people might not be that fortunate, so that's kind of where you have to kind of go to a next step. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the next step, I mean, it is illegal what they're doing, right? So you can report this person. If they're not willing to cooperate with you and they're not willing to take it down or even respond to you for that matter, if they're just dodging you, you want to give it some time. But other than that, then you can report them or get an attorney involved. Like the letter that I said one of our clients received, it was actually from the copyright attorney, and it was a larger brand. It was Getty Images that sent it out. They had a lawyer send a letter. That's one way of going about it. And just saying, hey, here's what you owe us and we'll be done with it. Or they could escalate it, right?
Yep.
Or you can go online and there's some sites where you can actually report this being happening. And Google will penalize the site, and so will some others, if they're keeping information up there that is legitimately copied information. So you can do that on Copyscape. There is links there where you can actually report some content there. Mike, have you used others? And another one you want to mention?
No, I was trying to think of, I want to say it.
Yeah, Google has one.
Really?
You can search at Google Authorship one to find content. That's one I forgot to mention. But you can search or set up Google Authorship and search in there for content. But then you can also, there's a link within that to report others.
Yeah,
Right.
so Grammarly also has kind of a plagiarism checker. So that's one, Grammarly, Grammarly, and then there's plagiarism checker where you can kind of check text, upload a file, that type of thing.
That's cool. Actually, I paid for Grammarly, and I didn't realize that they had that in there. I guess I just use it like within my toolbar to kind of
type piece.
look through my content as I go. But yeah, that's really cool that they have that. And there's others that are out there, but I mean, Google, I would definitely start with Google's one, and Copyscape. Those two, there's dmca.com too, where you can get and report some copying and copyright infringing there as well, or just contact an attorney, like we said. But unfortunately, I've just seen more of this stuff. And I think it is because of the urge and the push for people to push out more content than ever before. And it's just not worth it. I think you get more value when you have original content that is your style, your personality, because if you're copying, it's not going to be you, right? So you want to make sure that you're just being yourself and pushing it out there, and your audience will resonate with that a lot more than somebody else's words or design and images. You want to make sure that you just have your own. It's always the best practice. But here's a few things that you can do to kind of prevent this, since it is, happening more that we've seen it. Some things to prepare yourself. Mike, you talked about the first one already, which is getting some banners and putting it on your site. So you can go to copyscape.com or you can go to dmca.com, and they give you some banners and some verbiage. You know how you have the privacy policy that's required at the bottom of every website? You can also have a content policy right there, and they'll give you a banner that you put there, but then you can click on it and you can have your copy, your content policy right there. So you can say, hey, we do allow people to use our content in this way. Here's kind of our rules around it. If you would like to use this content in another way, here's who you contact. So you can literally lay it all out there and let people know the rules and as it relates to your content.
Yep,
that's one thing. Another one that you can use is Google Authorship again, and or WordPress has something you can use right within there with the authorship. I think it links into what's it called? Gravatar? Yeah, is it Gravatar? I don't know if they have something through that or not, but I know within WordPress you can set up the authorship there, and you can publish if you're publishing within an RSS feed or something similar to that. You know how I know Twitter feed's gone now, but there's some others that are grabbing content and kind of pulling it into a curator, right? And then you can set this kind of a if this then that to publish content out. Well, what the HubSpot actually suggested this. What you could do is put in, instead of just having your first paragraph in there to where people can share it out, you could put the statement content provided by such and such, or just like a short sentence that is in advance of the actual description before they share the blog content. So even if they have this on the kind of auto publish, then it's still giving you credit when the person's publishing out this content automatically.
No, I have seen those. Yeah. So I think there's a WordPress plugin. I don't have a name for it at this point in time that can be added, that like if somebody copies a paragraph and then pastes it in, it automatically appends.
Yep. Exactly.
And URL, back to the site on there, that type of thing. So yeah, it's another method of just trying to protect.
Yeah, like there's a lot of quote sites like that. I know I've used quotes from like Quote Garden or something like that, and they'll automatically, if you're using that quote, it says read more at da 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 da, and has that statement back there.
Yeah.
So just another way of, hey, give us credit if you're using this quote from the site. Put this at the end of it right there.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you used any others? on your site?
You covered them all. I mean, I do some pieces of this. I just kind of rely on, some of my alerts, and I rely on Grammarly and the pingbacks from WordPress.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And just people being good. I guess, like I think the biggest thing too is if you write good content, you share good content, that individuals are going to share it automatically from your site. So, you may not even have to worry about some of the stuff. I think the content that we're finding that from clients and so on was like more in-depth research content that would have been harder to kind of to create on their own. But it's still something that's out there. I think, and one other one that I didn't mention is with images, and obviously a lot more brands doing this now, is putting their logo at the bottom of the image, or
Yes, absolutely. Trying to brand your stuff a little bit more and
watermark or something.
Yeah.
But I see that then. So if somebody is going to share it, at least it ties it back to who originally created that or came up with that image.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you guys. Have any of you experienced this before, or what steps did you take? Kind of what are your thoughts with this?
It's just a new thing that's arisen today, and I think that there's tools that make it copying easier. There's some social media things which kind of have increased the ease of use of doing this as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when I first seen it, I just didn't know what to do. And I didn't see a lot of content out there that kind of tells you what to do. And I didn't really want to pay for an attorney and, and go through that whole mess. But I find that 9 times out of 10, it's honestly that people just didn't think about it. They didn't think about that they weren't intentionally trying to be malicious and take content. It was really just that they thought, oh, I thought it was good, so I'm going to use it here. And I put a link, somewhere down there at the end. But I think most of the times you just have to, kind of address it and let the rest work itself out, I guess. Yeah. So did the German company, they shared a link back to your content and you were good with that? It was good?
Yeah. Once I got a fuller translation of that, then I could see, okay, they were still quoting quite a bit, but I felt like there's a direct attribution, this is from this guy here, and it linked over. It was a live link, it wasn't dead, that type of thing. So I was okay, fine with it then, and interested to know that I was translated into German, yes.
That's really cool. That's how you know, Mike, when you're a big deal. Speaking of which, you have a top 10 blog?
I made the finalist list, yes. I made the Social Media Examiner's out of the top social media blogs here, so glad to be in that company of finalists here, so we'll see.
Nice. That is really, really cool because it's not easy. I mean, there's a lot of great blogs that were submitted, and so that's a huge testament to
a lot of good people. Yeah.
Definitely.
Glad to know a number of them, and even more thrilled to know that a number of them are in our masterclass, Magnet Marketers.
Yes, that's right. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So if you've not heard about the social media masterclass, which is Magnet Marketers Social Media Masterclass, and it's launching on March 1st this year. So it's going to be here before you know it. If you visit magnetmarketers.com, you can sign up just to be the first to be notified when it rolls out and get a free sample of the video so you can know what to expect, and a free social media toolkit, 25-page ebook that gives you some tips, tricks, templates that you can use to enhance your social media marketing and online marketing as a whole. But what the masterclass is doing, and its goal is to bring some of the best minds in online marketing and bring it all together in a systematic training on the way that we should think about and approach the social media marketing strategy, and more importantly, a relationship marketing strategy, so you can focus on growing that repeat referral business. And these videos are going to be dripped into your inbox when you sign up. So you don't have to go watch a webinar, join at a certain time, go back and sign in, try to remember your password into a site. None of that. We're making it incredibly easy. It's going to go right into your inbox, and you can just hit play when and where you're ready to do so. Get those trainings all sent to your inbox. And at the end of that, if you're like, I really got this stuff down, I want to become certified, you can take a test on your knowledge, what you learned, and become a certified magnet marketer. And what that stamp and that certificate means, and what we're on this movement to say what it means, is that it means that you care more about serving your audience and focusing on that repeat referral business than that quick sale. So you're all about the relationships and business. Super excited to have 34 now of the top minds in marketing, all with the same beliefs on relationships being more powerful than marketing, together in one group to bring this digital goodness to everyone else.
Yep.
I'm excited to have you, Mike, as part of it.
Yeah, glad to be part of it.
Awesome. So the link again is magnetmarketers.com. You're going to be hearing a lot more about that on our Facebook page here, but we would love to have you share the link out. There's a link that's pinned to the top of our Facebook page now. It has more details on the course itself and how to get those goodies ahead of time. So love to have you supporting us in this mission of making business more relationship focused, and have you join us again on March 1st when it rolls out.
All right.
Well, thanks, Mike. I can't believe 45 minutes goes so fast. Bam, bam. But thank all of you for watching here live and the replay. We appreciate you as always joining us for our Tuesday. But we hope to see you back next week, right here, next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we bring you the next edition of Magnet Marketers. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, thanks, Mike, for joining.
Take care, folks.
All right. Have a good rest of your week.
Thanks.
See ya.